Hello. Updates are always in my classroom because that's when I have free time to myself. Okay, so obviously this vlog is where I am reading the entire Throne of Glass series. This has taken me a year and almost a half to complete. I started this in February of 2023. I'm doing it with my besties book club, and we are reading a book every other month. And so you're not going to see this vlog right now. It's February 2023 until the middle of 2024. Hello. Sorry, my air conditioning's on. Editing Rainy here to say, after further thought, I decided to make each book in the Throne of Glass series its own separate mini vlog. One, so that this video can actually have a good success rate of it actually happening. Two, so I can make a playlist out of it. And three, I think that'll just be a little bit more easy to manage. So each video is going to be, or each book is going to be getting its own video. Hence why this is a mini vlog now of just the Assassin's Blade. They're all going to be filled with spoilers, so only watch them if, you know, you've read the book. Thinking, are we liking Assassin's Blade so far?
No.
You don't know. But anyway, so that is my update, and now back to regular Rainy. We started with the Assassin's Blade, which is actually made up of 5 novellas that take place over the course of like different times within the Throne of Glass series, but they all give you like perspective into who Selena Sardathian is. And everyone has said you should read these in chronological order, not publication order, because this came out like I think after the 3rd book, Heir of Fire. And so we are reading this, and I am currently 2 novellas in. And I just want to preface this by saying this is going to be a spoiler-filled vlog. It's going to have a bunch of spoilers in it because this vlog is just going to be like that. I figured I would update you on what I'm feeling on the 2 novellas that I've read so far. And so I'm kind of going to explain what has happened in each of these. So I guess this will be a spoilery section, but it's fine. So the first one is called The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't know if I was going to like this book because that one was just kind of a 3-star to me. It was just kind of whatever. And so it's about Selena Sardathian, and basically she is like the best assassin in this world, and she's only 16 years old, and she's like the heir of this guy named Arabin, and she basically does all of his assassin work for him. And his number 2 in command is Sam, and so they are working together, and they have to go have a meeting with the Pirate Lord. And then little do they know that the reason they're having a meeting with this Pirate Lord because of Arabin is because Arabin wants to enter the slave trade, and he wants her to go and purchase 100 slaves and transport them back safely without them getting hurt. And she's like, I'm not about slaves. I'm not about having people be enslaved and me helping transport them. So she decides to go against his wishes and free all the slaves, even in fear of punishment. And some shit goes down. Sam disappears. She has no idea where he ends off going. And then she, of course, gets punished by her master, Arabin. But the slaves get freed, and the Pirate Lord doesn't get what he wants either out of the purchase. And so that's the first one. And like I said, it was just kind of 3 stars. It was just kind of whatever for me. It wasn't like my favorite. I honestly got like halfway through it, and I was texting my friends from the Besties Book Club saying like, does it get better? And they said, yes, you need to keep going. But if I was to have just read that alone, I would have given that a 3-star. However, the next one that I read, I really enjoyed it a lot more. I honestly would probably give it a 4.5 stars. And that was The Assassin and the Healer. And that one only was like 50 pages long. It's the shortest novella in this book. But it is about Selena again. And it's shortly after she's been, you know, yelled at by her master. She's being sent to this desert to go work with this mute assassin or something. But on her way, she stops at this inn in the middle of nowhere, and there's this bartender that works there named Irene, and apparently she's going to be an important character for later. But she basically is a healer, or the daughter of a healer, and she really wants to go to this healing school, but she's kind of just gotten stuck at this inn working there, and she doesn't know if she'll ever have the money or like the motivation to go and pursue this healer school. And so while Selena is there, of course, people are going to try and want to rob her because she's wearing like this beautiful cloak and like brooches, and she looks very rich and wealthy and affluent. And so one night, Irene is walking home, and she had gotten some good tips as a bartender, and these mercenary people try and come and attack her. And so Selena, of course, shows up, saves the day, kills them, and then says, I need to teach you how to defend yourself. So she teaches Irene how to defend herself, and then actually sets her up in a situation where Irene does have to defend herself, so that she realizes, oh, she can actually do this on her own. And she, you know, they exchange words, and like they have a nice goodbye. And then when Irene goes back to her bedroom, she finds that the girl, Selena, had actually left behind a crap ton of gold for her and her brooch so that she could go pursue her dreams of becoming a healer. And I assume which I read this, I saw this in Booked and Busy's vlog, and I totally agree with this. She said, well, first, Irene is Black, and I didn't know that. And second, that since it's written from her POV, she obviously is going to be in the series more. And I think that makes sense, and I kind of am excited for that because I really did enjoy her. And so we'll see what happens from there. But I am only 2 novellas in, so now I need to read The Assassin and the Desert, which is about 100 pages long. And I think this is when she finally goes to the desert to meet the mute assassin or whatever as punishment from Arabin, her master. So I am excited to read this, and I will check back in probably after this novella, and then we'll see where I go from there.
A new place, a new home for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. Oh, I feel so alive. As I reach out to the sky.
I finished the 3rd novella, and before I start the 4th one, I want to make sure that I'm actually updating this vlog like I said I would. So, the 3rd one has been my favorite one so far. It was about 110 pages. And so, in this one, we have Miss Selena, and it's 2 months after she has freed all the slaves, and her master Arabin has sent her to the Red Desert to basically train underneath the mute assassin, who doesn't ever really talk. Basically, she has to go train with him for a month, and she has to get this letter of recommendation from him that basically says, like, yeah, I've trained her. She's gotten a lot, like, less resistant to, like, listening to people and following directions and, like, all of this stupid crap. So anyway, so she goes to this Red Desert, and it takes a month to get there, and she meets this girl there named Ansel, and they become best friends. She finally has, like, a girlfriend, and she even kind of almost has a relationship with this guy named, oh god, Insel. I can't remember. But anyway, so she actually becomes friends with this girl named Ansel, and they're really, really good friends. She really wants to get trained by this actual master assassin, but he doesn't just take anybody under his wing to apprentice. And so she's trying to, like, get him to actually train her so that she can get this letter of recommendation. And basically, Ansel is a rule breaker and a rebel, and she decides to get her and Selena into some hijinks and some shenanigans. And they go off and start doing all this crazy stuff, and then they have, you know, people after them. But then Selena does something that ends up being good for the assassin and, like, impresses him, and so then he ends up deciding, okay, I'll take her on as an apprentice. And so then he's starting to teach her all of this cool stuff in, like, the ways of animals and how they move, like asps, which is a snake, and all this other stuff. And then basically she one day has to meet up with the assassin to get the recommendation letter, and she drinks her drink and she gets poisoned. And she wakes up, and Ansel had left her a note that said, here's your letter of recommendation. Had to leave suddenly, or something like that. And she's like, this doesn't make sense. Why am I waking up? Like, what's going on here? And she opens it up, and the recommendation letter is actually blank. And she goes, oh crap, what's going on? And then she puts 2 and 2 together, and she basically finds out that Ansel is not who she says she is, and she actually has been working with the enemy to basically reclaim her homeland for all the people that have wronged her. And so she's actually a bad person, and she tries to kill the mute assassin master and tries to kill, like, the other people in the clan, and Selena has to try and stop her, and she does stop her, and then she saves her life and doesn't end up killing her, but says, like, I'm going to give you 20 minutes to ride away before I shoot a bow and arrow at you, and if you're not out of my sight, like, I will kill you. And she ends up getting her recommendation letter because the mute assassin owes her. He ends up talking to her, and he's not very mute. And then off she goes back to Arabin, but not before the mute assassin gives her enough gold to where she could actually buy her freedom away from Arabin. And I wonder if she's going to do that. I assume she is, but I'm not sure. This one was my favorite. I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm really, really liking getting to see Selena's character, like, development, like, throughout this series. And I actually think it's pretty good that I started with these, because this, like, allows me to know, like, yes, she is an assassin, but she actually has, like, a really kind heart. And, you know, all she wants is to be loved and to, like, have friends and, like, be a normal 16-year-old. Or she's 17 at this point. But, like, a normal 17-year-old. But she can't have that because she's a paid assassin. So anyway, I have two more novellas left. I am on number 4, which is The Assassin and the Underworld, and I believe this one is the longest one. It's about 150-ish pages, so I will hopefully get back to you by tomorrow, because I want this vlog to go out on Sunday, and we will see from there. I'll probably put some B-roll into this, because I am going to Flip Factory tomorrow with my son and my friend Liz, because he has a field trip. And I realized that I can't go to Flip Factory by myself because it's a trampoline park, and I'm very pregnant, which you probably can't tell from this angle, but I'm 30 weeks pregnant, so I should not be going to a trampoline park with my son by myself. All right, here we go. Hello, friends. Update on book number 4, or novella number 4. So that was called The Assassin and the Underworld, and this is definitely my favorite story so far. And this one was the longest story. And this one was after Selena gets back from the Red Desert, and she's come back to Arabin, who, their relationship is very weird. Like, he's her master, but I also feel like he kind of, like, wants her, but doesn't want her. I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, basically, she has enough gold now where she could buy her freedom, but she's decided she's not going to tell him that yet. She wants to move out on her own, be her own assassin, but she still wants to work for him because she likes being an assassin. So she doesn't tell him that she has the money to pay out her freedom. She just says she's going to work for him still. And he says, okay, so he sends her on this major task. Before she heads out, she's reunited with Sam, who's like the second trained assassin. And basically their relationship starts to form. And then she goes on this mission, and Arabin has told her that these people are trying to start the slave trade up again. And we know from the first story that she's not okay with that. And so basically she has to go and like kill them and get the information from them about where they're going to be doing all the stuff. And so she finds all these documents, and on her way, like, they try to, like, kill her, poison her, drown her, all this stuff. And Sam is with her, and he's trying to save her, and he ends up professing his love to her, and tells her he's in love with her, and I just love Sam. But anyway, and then Sam also announces that he plans on leaving whenever he can buy his freedom, and so she's just very upset about that. But they go to do this, and she kills all these people and finds these documents that basically say all of the ways that the people were going to try and free the slaves, and she thinks that they're selling this information to the slave traders, and that she stopped a bunch of bad people. However, Arabin had lied to her and actually had her kill the people that were trying to free the slaves, because he wanted the slave trade to start happening again, and she gave all that information to the people that are trying to start the slave trade up again. And so it was a whole big mess, and she decides she hates him, and that she finally gives him all the gold. She says, here you go, I'm buying my freedom. She sells her horse so that she can buy Sam's freedom, and that they're both freed. And then he takes all of her money and basically buys off this woman that he had been making Sam be with while she was gone, buys her off, like her bidding, which basically means like buying her to sleep with her, like have her virginity, which is really weird. And so it's this whole like, I used your gold to like be with a woman. But it's whatever. And so at the very end, her and Sam are like, we love each other. We'll follow each other into the dark abyss. And then we move on to number 5. And I'm scared for number 5. I feel like they're setting me up to have a heartbreak with Sam. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to make it to this whole series. And I'm very sad. But I loved this one the most. I feel like the more I get into this book, I am really, really loving these characters so much more. I am definitely liking this more than I thought. If I had to do it right now, the first one was a 3-star, then a 4-star, and 2 5-stars. So I have a feeling this is probably going to be about a 4, maybe 4.5 star for this entire book. But I plan tonight on reading sprints for the last day of Battle of the Band sprints to get some good reading in and finish this last novella. And then I can come to you with final thoughts, because this video needs to go up tomorrow. Okay, y'all. It's been like 2 hours since the last update, and I finished the final novella. And we have some fighting words to talk about. You want to kill off my baby boy Sam, her love interest, the love of her life? I mean, I knew it was obvious, because obviously we have like 7 other books to get through. So like, it makes sense that this was not going to be the person that she ends up with ultimately. But it done made me sad. And Arabin. So let's talk about it. Okay, so basically, we ended in the last one with them earning their freedom. They're living together. However, just because they earned their freedom doesn't mean that they earned their way out of the Assassin's Guild in general. And so they want to be able to make their own missions and like get hired like by other people and not have this Assassin's Guild, like, hanging over them and, like, bad-mouthing them to everyone. So that's going to cost even more. And so Selena offers to basically give them all the last bit of gold that they have left, and they're going to be really poor, to pay off Arabin, get out of the Assassin's Guild, and end on good terms. And Sam is like, oh, no, 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 we're not doing that. I'm going to get us a mission. And so he gets them a mission from some man in a closed hood, which that's already a bad sign. I'm like, you don't even know who's giving you this mission? And the guy gives them the mission that they have to kill the #1 crime lord and the #2, like his #2. And Selena's like, no one's been able to do that. They always get murdered. This is a terrible idea. This is a suicide mission. We're not doing this. And he's like, we are doing this because I'm not letting you pay Arabin all of our last little bit of gold. So just trust me on this. And she blindly does, and they go on this mission, and Sam says, I'm going to go after the main guy, and I want you to stay behind because I don't want you to get hurt. And she listens for some reason. She doesn't see him for a whole day. And then lo and behold, Arabin shows up at her door and says, I'm so sorry, he's been killed, brings her to his body. She's very upset, and she takes that revenge. And she ends up murdering the #1 crime lord. She murders him. And then, but it was all a ruse because Arabin was behind all of it. He betrayed them because he was mad that they left him. And so he was working with the #2. And the plan was to kill Sam to get Selena mad enough to kill the crime lord, the #1. And the #2 would be able to take over, and he's working for Arabin. Or they're in cahoots with each other. And so Sam is dead. And the #2 is like now in charge. And Arabin did all this because he's mad. And so then they capture Selena, and instead of just killing her off because they think that would be too kind, they sentence her to 9 lives worth of time in the salt mines in Endovir, which apparently people die in there like within like 2 weeks to like a month. It's like a death camp, and she's sentenced to 9 lives in the salt mines. And that is where we end up. She is a slave in the salt mines. And I'm very sad. I'm very sad about Sam. And I'm mad at Arabin. And I just want to know if she's going to get like her comeback in this book. And then I looked to see where Throne of Glass starts, and Throne of Glass just starts you right off as her being a slave in the salt mines. And I feel like if I hadn't have read this, I wouldn't understand, like, why she was who she is, because it just basically says, like, oh, she's this assassin. But I feel like this really does give you a lot of context into who she is and, like, how she got to where she is today. Like, I think these were really important. Now, do I think these needed to be novellas? No. I feel like, yeah, they're novellas, but they really all could have just been one long story because they all follow one right after another. But I did kind of like that it was broken into novellas for reading purposes. But if I'm going to end this, I think I'm giving it a 4-star. It might get bumped up to a 4.5 star, but the first one was a 3-star, and then we had a 4-star, and then we had 3 5-stars. So I think it's really a 4.5 stars. And I'm very excited to get to Throne of Glass. I'm not reading that until April, though, because we're reading it every other month for the Besties Book Club. But that is my thoughts. I really enjoyed this. So if you haven't read this, go read it. If you have, I hope you enjoyed the spoiler-filled vlog. I cannot wait to read the rest of them. Let me know what you thought of this one down below if you have read it and when you read it. Did you read it first? Did you read it in between? Like, did you read it at the end? Let a girl know. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, and make sure to watch the Assassin's Blade live show that we actually did. I posted this right after the live show. So it's on my friend Neva's channel, Reading with Neva. I'll link that underneath here. So check out our live discussion about Assassin's Blade. And then, yeah. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.